At Sell Your Motors, we pride ourselves on our honesty and integrity. You bring your car to one of our locations, in 30 minutes we'll give you a quote. If you like it, we'll buy it there and then, in cash. And if you don't, no hard feelings. But over the decades of working in this industry, we have come across some unbelievable stories. And we want to expose some of those stories in this series, Shocking Stories from Unsuspecting Sellers. Welcome to another episode of Shocking Stories from Unsuspecting Sellers. Today we've got an absolute beauty for you. You'll have probably seen this story in The National just a few weeks ago. And we want to thank Stephen Kitching for giving us a specific interview where we were able to get a little bit more detail about exactly what happened to him. Stephen was the victim of an incredibly audacious scam. Stephen owned a Shelby GT500, and if you know what a Shelby GT500 is, you know that that is an awesome car. He advertised his car in the usual places, and after a couple of days, he received a message from a lady who was asking about the car for her husband, who was a local and in the military. She was very polite, she spoke great English, and she decided that she wanted to buy the car. So they arranged to meet. She asked all the right questions. She asked about, was there any loans outstanding on the car? What the condition was like, what the service history was like. Stephen had placed the car on the usual websites for 360,000 dirhams, and she made an offer of 340,000 dirhams, which he was happy to accept. So they arranged to meet. They arranged to meet very specifically on a Thursday evening. Stephen requested that they either pay in cash or with a banker's draft. On the Thursday, as Stephen was heading out toward the location, he received a phone call from the buyer himself, not his wife, the buyer himself, who said, listen, I'm on base at the military base. I've not been able to get out of the military base today to get a banker's draft. Will you take a personal check? And to be honest, Stephen didn't think too much of it, and so he agreed to meet up with him anyway. They went to the RTA and he handed over all the papers, and there's a lot of details around the papers we can't really talk about, but generally speaking, all of the paperwork went through fine. He came out and took out his checkbook, and the native wrote him a check for 340,000 dirhams. Now, Stephen doesn't read Arabic, so he took a photo of the check and sensibly sent it to his friend, who's an Arabic speaker, and said, is this check for 340,000 dirhams? And it was. So he walked away, handed over the keys, and that was the end of the transaction. Very soon after, Stephen realized that the check had been post-dated in Arabic to 2025. As a side note, Arabic numerals are actually 1, 2, 3, and Mashriqi numerals are 1, 2, 3. In a panic, Stephen called the police. The police called the buyer of the car and asked him why he'd sent a post-dated check. The next day, the man was arrested for an entirely different crime. Stephen is still pursuing the case through the legal system. But this is a really, really common case, and it's got a few very distinct traits. The first person to contact the seller is always a woman purporting to be the wife of a local. This is a very important detail. The second thing is they always insist on meeting on a Thursday. Banks are closed on a Friday, of course. The third thing is it's a very confident scam. The people who come and meet you are full of confidence, arrogance almost, to get the deal done. So it's really easy to spot the scam early on. Don't take personal checks, only ever take cash or a banker's draft. Make sure you're 100% sure you've got the funds deposited before you complete all of your paperwork and hand over the keys. Unfortunately, Stephen hasn't finished the legal process yet, but at Sell Your Motors, we've been lucky enough to be able to offer Stephen to buy a car at wholesale price. It's not going to be a GT500, but at least it'll save him a few pounds. At Sell Your Motors, we like to do things ethically. It's a really simple process. If you ever want to sell your car, come to one of our locations. In 30 minutes, we'll do an inspection, we'll make you an offer. If you like the offer, great. And if you don't, no hard feelings. We'll see you in the next episode of Shocking Stories from Unsuspecting Sellers.